A huge debut is expected to happen at TNA Hard to Kill, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about who it's not going to be and so much more. Don't forget, we're giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. So if you want a chance to win that and several other prizes, you should probably click subscribe today. Welcome back to the Ango Show. I, of course, am your host, Ango, and we got a lot to discuss. You remember Persia Pirata? But she goes by the name Steph DeLander in the Indies. She was released in the WWE. Now she's part of the hottest acts in the indie wrestling scene, obviously being alongside Matt Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder. She recently did an interview, and I personally thought this was great. She was on Insight with Chris Van Vliet, and she was basically talking about her eventual goal of it's her ultimate goal of eventually ending back up in the WWE. We know she was released in 2022, and it was a very interesting thing. She revealed that she actually reached out to Matt Bloom, aka Lord Tenzai, aka A-Train, right? And she says, I think that's definitely the end goal, but it's not like I'm rushing to get there. And I think when I had that mentality switch, that's when things started coming together for me too. She ends up ultimately saying the end result will be I get interest from WWE and from elsewhere, which I have because of how hot our act is. It's not necessarily shocking to me to hear that she wants to go back to WWE and wants to be in WWE. What I find very fascinating is that Matt Cardona was rumored to have signed with WWE last year. Nothing ever came from it. Obviously, with the internet and rumors and stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff that's being said. But it is shocking to me that WWE hasn't brought in Matt Cardona. And what's actually really fascinating as well is when Matt Cardona became the indie god, and he's been doing all of this great stuff on the indies, he was already doing very well on his own. But then when he brought in Steph DeLander, that took it to a whole different level. So if anything, I think it really increased the value of what both of them could be on WWE television. I have no idea if WWE will bring them back, but it is shocking to me that WWE hasn't, at least from what I've seen, it doesn't sound like WWE has tried. I don't know. But I think for WWE, you should bring in Matt Cardona. You should bring in Steph DeLander. The fact that they haven't ended up in AEW or WWE is mind-boggling to me. It really is mind-boggling to me. And it always makes me a little bit more interested to know why AEW didn't do anything with Matt Cardona. Because when he was released from the WWE, he did go to AEW. It was like a 4 or 5 appearance deal, and nothing really ever came from that. And it was really shocking considering how big this act actually is in the indie scene. So it does make me wonder, did Matt Cardona turn it down, or did AEW not have the interest or whatever? I don't know. But I feel like these two packaged together is money. I think WWE can make a lot of money with him being Matt Cardona. He doesn't have to be Zack Ryder. There's a lot of ways to introduce that too. If you want the initial pop, the initial reaction, you can have the Zack Ryder music come out, and then, they transition it to Matt Cardona, and then, you cut a promo and you explain it. It's not very hard to tell the story logically of why he's Matt Cardona now. But nonetheless, I think this would be a great thing. And it's exciting to see that, people who leave WWE, some people just quit wrestling altogether. Rick Boogs just quit wrestling. Steph DeLander, in the other case, is like, hey, I want to be back there, and she's going to keep grinding to make it happen, and that's very respectable. Guys, you know who's not debuting at TNA Hard to Kill? Mercedes Mone. Very interesting stuff, but according to Mike Johnson from PW Insider, he says, while certainly anything can happen between now and Saturday the 13th, we are told that she is not the talent that TNA is currently teasing for the big signing. Wow. We talked about this on my AEW Dynamite post show yesterday with Real Take Wrestling and Billy TKO. We spoke about, Mercedes Mone and AEW and stuff like that. I think there's too many reports indicating that she's going to AEW where anything else actually happens, right? I think that is very much the case. What is interesting here about Mercedes, though, and the TNA situation, for those who say TNA can't afford her, that's already been debunked. We know that's not true. We know TNA can afford her. But what's really interesting is that AEW bringing in Mercedes is a big deal. right? I've been saying this the entire time. Mercedes is a free agent. If she's a free agent, somebody of that caliber, you go and sign them regardless of the circumstances. You make it happen. There's a lot of belief that I have in Mercedes that she is going to help whichever company she goes to, right? Which is phenomenal. I feel like she could quickly make an impact, no pun intended. What's also really shocking is that Mercedes has been toying around with the IWC. With Instagram and social media and her posts and stuff like that, she's definitely having fun with it. And I love it. I think it's fun. It's chaotic. But it does look like that expectation of her being in AEW makes a lot of sense. And I think, it kind of sucks for TNA to, not get Will Ospreay, not get CM Punk, not get Mercedes Mone. Now they're losing, Trinity Fatu. But at the same time, I think with Mercedes, man, she's just such a great talent. And, TNA, their Knockouts division has been A1 since day one. Like, that's a real thing. So Mercedes going to TNA as the top of the card would have been amazing for the company. But also, I think it would have been a good fit. I think it's a good fit anywhere, but I think it would have been a great fit for TNA because they really do care about women's booking. This is not a situation where she has to go and turn around the booking. She just has to go and show up and be the star that we all know she is. So, yeah, we'll see how it all goes down. Speaking of TNA Hard to Kill, PW Insider is also reporting that the person that TNA is advertising for a massive debut is, in fact, a released WWE star. Which this is a little bit more difficult now for us as a fan of TNA, right? They got to be careful here. You're teasing a big signing, and yes, I like Elias, and I like Mustafa Ali, and I like Dolph Ziggler, and I wouldn't be mad if any one of those three showed up, but at the same time, too, I can see where a lot of people could ultimately be upset with this decision to bring in somebody who may or may not be a big name. And I don't know what people consider a big name anymore. Like, I think Nick Nemeth, I think Dolph Ziggler is a bigger name than Nick Nemeth. Obviously, Nick Nemeth can't go to TNA or New Japan or any of these companies with the Dolph Ziggler name, right? Mustafa Ali, he's able to. And I think he's a phenomenal talent, and I would be very excited if he was in TNA. He fits their style. He would be a great champion in the company. The creative freedom that he would be allowed there would be amazing. But I think no matter who gets revealed, I think people will be upset. And we talked about this about a week ago. Elias is now Elijah. His video package post-release looks like it was narrated by the guy who does the TNA stuff. So I do expect Elijah to show up in TNA. But is Elijah the big TNA signing? It's kind of weird when you talk about Worlds Collide and big signing and all of these different things, and then it's Elijah. You know what I mean? So not that there's anything wrong with Elijah. Not that there's anything wrong with him going to TNA. He's going to be great in TNA if he's there. But my point that I'm making is I think people, no matter what, will naturally be disappointed if it's not like this massive ordeal. And I don't know how it's going to go down.